Hi everyone, this is Lowell, and wanted to start a new series about songwriting. And I've written many songs, probably around 500 songs, mostly for church worship, but not all. And I've, everybody has their own approach to songwriting, but maybe somebody would be benefited by understanding my experience. And everybody has a different method, but I wanted to kind of highlight in this first video the different starting points of songwriting. A lot of people feel more comfortable uh, starting with lyrics, and they basically a poem, and but then other people feel confident or comfortable starting uh, with melody or with harmony. Like a guitar player will sit down and strum and get a kind of a chord progression going, and then that inspires the song. And so wherever you start is a fascinating, I think, first video to talk about. Essentially, and what I've found in my own work is that the origin of how you start a song is what causes it to take on its own characteristic of direction. Is a little bit like DNA. It's like wherever you start with that particular strand of DNA, it creates the rest of the being. And so, or like a hologramic, image where it's multifaceted. And what I've heard is if you take a hologram and break it into pieces, each one of those pieces contain the elements of the whole. And same with DNA, where you could take one DNA strand of a person, and essentially the whole being could be extrapolated from that one DNA piece. So, such as is songwriting. I've found, like for me, my experience of songwriting, because I'm very linear and melodic in thinking as a violinist. Um, I many times I would actually write my lyrics and the melody simultaneously, and that was my approach. The melody and the words seemed like they were coming out together for me. But then other times, and that actually produces, that type of writing produces a certain type of result. Like it produces a very, um, I want to say worshipful, but a very linear, emotional, melodic type of song uh, by writing it that way. Other times I've experimented, actually starting with a rhythm, a rhythmic pattern, and those songs actually turn out to be very crowd pleasing, where they want to clap their hands and feel the beat, and then others, I start with a harmony, a chord progression, that I don't have any words or any direction. It's just a particular chord progression. And those songs end up being a little bit more thoughtful, um, not so emotional, but more lyrically supportive. So basically, what I'm telling you is that there's three parts of music, right? There's melody, harmony, and rhythm. And lyrics actually are an interesting merge when you start talking about, well, what is, lyrics in music. And lyrics actually can function on all three of those levels. Lyrics can function very emotionally, or they can function um, very rhythmically in terms of the way that the words are coming out, the rhythmic nature of the words, the structure of the rhythm of how it is to say those words, and then just the thoughtful meaning, the thoughtfulness of the meaning of the words. It's like it makes people think, and so and you know, those of you who are listening may or may not be Christian, but I'm a Christian, have been for many years, and have studied the Bible and seen patterns that pertain to music in the Bible, and one of them is found in Paul's writings, and he says, "May God sanctify you entirely, spirit, soul, and body." And there's three areas I find in music making that touches people's lives, and that is on a spiritual level, and that is on a soul level. In other words, a thoughtful, emotional level, and then a physical level. And so the songs that start with rhythm kind of affect people on a physical movement type of level. What makes you want to dance type of thing. And those are rhythmically derived songs. And then another place, again, in the Apostle Paul's writings, he talks about the different types of music in worship as being psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. And so if you look up the word psalms, it literally means music or songs that are accompanied by instruments, and which would have been rhythmic in nature. And then hymns were more thoughtful, basically testimonial songs of, here's my experience of what I've, seen in my life, in God's interaction. And so those are more thoughtful songs. And then spiritual songs are yet another level of deep introspection, deep awareness, and ecstasy. Not the drug ecstasy, but a sense of euphoria. Of the best way I can explain it is a worshipful moment that is inexplicable with God. And so those three areas, spirit, soul, and body, are I think perfectly illustrated by what we understand about music being melody, harmony, and rhythm. And so I've experimented with all of these, and I think that it's a fascinating subject, whether you believe all that I just said about Christianity and so forth. It's something that I can testify to you that I've experienced the benefit of music in all three of those areas, and particularly in songwriting.